1.5 and 1.6, adding and subtracting integers. Let's look at some numbers in columns. Okay, we have term, which is the number, the operation, which is adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing, and what we do on the number line. So if my term is positive 3, that means it's a positive number. If this were in an operation, it would mean plus 3, if you saw this. And what do? It means you move 3 spaces to the right on the number line. This would be negative 7, okay? But the operation, you would subtract 7, which means move 7 places to the left on the number line from where you are. Negative 7 is also the opposite of 7. You can always read a negative as the opposite of 7. So all adding or subtracting problems can be written as addition problems. Here's some examples. I put stars by them. 3 plus 8, well, that's already an addition problem, like normal. But 13 minus 20 can be rewritten as 13 plus negative 20, or 13 plus the opposite of 20. Does that make sense to you? If we just look at this, that could be the opposite of 20. So 13 plus the opposite of 20. Here's another one, 6 minus 12. We could rewrite this as 6 plus negative 12, or 6 plus the opposite of 12. You can more easily see that there are more negatives than positives when the problem is written as addition. But don't rewrite regular problems, normal problems, like 12 minus 2. You've been doing those forever. You don't have to rewrite the problems, subtraction problems, as addition. Just do it when it helps you. 14 minus 8, 6. 8 minus 22. Well, some of you may like to just do this problem and say negative 14. Others of you may like to rewrite it as an addition problem, 8 plus negative 22. When you do it like this, it totally stands out that there are more negatives. But see, they're both the same answer, negative 14. 16 minus 20. Some of you may say, oh, negative 4. Others of you may say, I want to rewrite that, 16 plus negative 20. Wow, there's more negatives, so the answer is going to be negative 4. Now notice the signs of the terms are different in these examples. Positive, negative, positive, negative. You can really see it here. Positive, negative. Also notice that we subtracted every time. Well, yes, it's a subtraction problem. Even though here we made it into addition, we still really subtracted. So here's something you can use to remember that. It's alliteration, like from English. Different signs, take the difference. Remember, difference is the name of the answer in a subtraction problem. Now let's look at these examples. 12 plus 8, 20. Negative 6 plus negative 5, negative 11. Negative 8 minus 3. Well, we could rewrite this if we wanted to as negative 8 plus negative 3. Once again, now this problem looks like this, negative 11. These problems have terms with the same signs. Positive, positive, negative, 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 which you can more easily see when you rewrite it as a addition problem. So since they have the same sign, here's the alliteration for that. If they have the same signs, you sum. So different signs, take the difference, same signs, sum. So let's try these. Look at the problems and tell me if we will do the sum or the difference based on the signs, and then let's say the answer. Negative 15 plus 4. You're going to take the difference, and it would be negative 11. 15 plus 8. Sum. 23. Negative 16 minus 3. You could rewrite that, negative 16 plus negative 3. Now that you can see they're really the same, so we sum. So negative 19. How about 16 take away 14? Different. We subtract. We take the difference. What about 3 plus negative 12? Different. So this would be negative 9. Let's look at the next thing. Here's a new property. Properties in math are our rules in math. The additive inverse. The additive inverse is what you add to a number to get 0, which means it's the opposite of your number. You always want your answer to be 0. So if I start with 6, what's the opposite of 6? Negative 6. 6 plus negative 6? 0. If I start with a negative number, like negative 8, what's the opposite of that? Positive 8. So it's negative 8 plus 8, 0. Notice this is the additive inverse, so we always write it as an addition problem, even if we're adding the opposite, which is negative. What if I have a variable x? X plus, what's the opposite of x? Negative x. 0. And here again, with the variable being negative, negative x plus the opposite of that, positive x equals 0. Please notice when you have two signs together, you separate them with parentheses. So I don't write 6 plus negative 6 without the parentheses. This makes it stand out. I separate it. Okay, double negatives mean positive in English and in math. If I say to you, you may not go to the movies, that means you need to go to the movies. You should be happy about that. It's the same thing in math. 5 minus negative 3 means 5 plus 3, because this says, what this really says is take the opposite of negative 3, which is positive 3. So taking the opposite of a negative is positive, so that means add. So 6 minus negative 4 is the same as 6 plus 4. That's a nice one. 10. 3 minus negative 5, 3 plus 5. 8. Negative 8 minus negative 7. It's just these two negatives together, okay? They have to be right next to each other. Well, that makes negative 8 plus 7, negative 1. Negative 6 minus negative 6 turns into negative 6 plus 6, 0. Now look at this one. Negative 7 minus 7. We could rewrite that as negative 7 plus negative 7, which gives us negative 14. Notice these last two problems are not the same. Don't look at this and just say, oh, negative 7 minus 7. That's not 0. Okay, it's negative 14. Here are some examples of taking the difference. Let's find the difference in the temperatures. Okay? I started out as 32 degrees, and now I went to negative 10 degrees. What's the difference? Difference means subtract. But here we're subtracting a negative, so we're really adding. We end up with 32 plus 10. That's a 42-degree difference. What about it was negative 45 degrees in the morning, and then it went to negative 80 degrees. It got colder. Well, negative 45 minus negative 80, negative 45 plus 80, that's a 35-degree difference. How about 8 degrees to negative 3 degrees? We must be somewhere up at the North Pole or South Pole. We're definitely not here in Southern California. So 8 minus negative 3 turns into 8 plus 3. That's only an 11-degree difference. How about it started out at negative 2 and it got all the way up to 15 degrees? That's still pretty cold. Assuming we're in Fahrenheit. Notice I didn't tell you. So negative 2 minus 15, we could rewrite that as negative 2 plus negative 15. That's negative 17. But if we're just talking about the degrees difference, we say 17 degrees difference. Because notice, I'm just finding the difference. I'm not telling you if it got colder or hotter by putting a sign with it. I just said, what's the difference? But if it says difference, you always subtract. That's it.